Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
Have you put in a contribution to your registered retirement savings plan yet? Well, that deadline to get a deduction on your 2024 taxes is coming up. That's on March the 3rd. Put money into your RRSP before that date, and you get a tax break on your 2024 taxes. But do you even have the money to do so in this economy? Hello, this is Mike Eppel. That annual scramble to put some cash into your RRSP always seems to happen at the worst time of the year. And this year, a lot of Canadians are saying they just don't have the money. Investment company Edward Jones crunched some of the numbers and indicates that many households are having a very tough time balancing the amount of money that's going out every month with the money needed for retirement. But maybe, just maybe, there are some ways that we can help you find some money to save for your later years. Joining me on the line is Julie Petrera, a senior strategist, client needs at Edward Jones. Julie Petrera, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up to the RRSP deadline, March the 3rd, Julie, and, there's this typical rush this time of year. You got to get that contribution in. Probably should have been doing it earlier, not waiting until the last minute, but human nature is such. Are we coming into an RRSP deadline where a lot of people are saying they don't have the money this year? Times are tough. Inflation's been a thing. Cost of living, the amount of money being set aside for retirement, maybe it's down on the list. What are your survey stats showing?
Yeah, all of the above. So we have polling data from Edward Jones Canada that shows that only 39% of Canadians plan to contribute to their RRSP this year. And that's a drop of 10 points from last year. And on top of that, only 15% of Canadians plan to contribute the maximum amount this year. And that's a drop of 6 points from the previous year. So we are seeing those that intend to contribute, there are fewer of them.
Well, that maximum upwards of $31,000 to a lot of people, that's pretty daunting. So the fact that there are some still doing that, bravo. But even that, the fact that people have next to nothing, that they're not putting anything into the RSP, that raises big questions because, look, RSP saving, that is for long term. That's, 10, 20, 30 years out. And if you're not doing it today, then you're getting into a situation where you're not getting that compound growth and all these other things that can really grow your wealth later on in life.
Yeah, absolutely. These accounts have, you receive a deduction when you contribute or when you claim the deduction, and also they grow on a tax deferred basis, right? So they're one of the they're not the only part of a retirement plan, but they're one of the main parts of a retirement plan. So seeing those contribution numbers is down is concerning.
How much has you talk about the higher cost of living, but at the same time, there's a lot of mortgages coming up for renewal. The Bank of Canada has cut interest rates, yes, but we're not to where we were when a lot of these mortgages were signed. So debt, I'm assuming, is a big issue that people they got to pay the monthly bills, not worry so much about retirement savings.
Yeah, the three big reasons that Canadians gave for not wanting to make contributions this year, not planning to make contributions this year, are that they believe their income is insufficient to do so, they prefer to service debt, and then they did mention the high cost of living or rising prices.
Is that, though, again, we get back to short-term versus long-term thinking and the idea of the RRSP itself and saving for retirement. Is there a psychological barrier to it to some extent where you think, I have to save, again, the maximum per year, $31,000. I don't have that. So you just go, well, I can't start. Does there need to be a mindset change that even $100, maybe $500, $1,000, whatever you can put in is better than nothing, and therefore, finding that money that might be going to something else, it is doable, and to, raise an optimistic feeling about retirement savings as opposed to this cloud of uncertainty.
Yeah, music to my ears there, Mike. So two things. We do have two groups of Canadians. So 9% of Canadians are saying that they're uncertain about where to start. So they don't know what to do. And another 9% say, you just alluded to this, that retirement feels too distant to plan for. And I don't know exactly how old these Canadians are. That may be true. But I think that, one question that we get, or the opportunity is, being able to balance, like you said, short term and long term, right? So one may think that it's too far away, but time is on your side, so there might be a huge opportunity to start saving for retirement now, even if it is a small amount. And also the balance between debt versus investing. So one of the barriers to being able to contribute to an RSP that Canadians shared with us was debt. And this is an interesting one because, again, if those that have a plan, so we know that some don't and they don't know where to start. Those that have a plan, you can have a plan that will help you balance short-term and long-term and paying off debt versus investing.
Is there a breakdown that you are seeing from various age categories, genders? We always talk about, okay, you got your boomers and your millennials and your Gen Z and what have you. Is there a different mindset? Is it a situation where the younger you are, it's something, retirement is this maybe a pipe dream 30 years out, and you don't think about worrying about it too much? And is that showing up in the data?
Yeah, we do have some data that says that. So younger Canadians, and when I say younger, I'm saying aged 18 to 34, are experiencing an even larger decline in what they had planned to save last year compared to this year. So last year, 60% in that group said that they plan to contribute something to their RSP. And we've seen a 19-point drop because only 41% are planning to contribute this year. So we're seeing the biggest drop from last year to this year with that 18 to 34 category.
And saving between men versus women, what is the data showing there?
And women plan to save less, put less into their RSP compared to men. And the reasons that they give for that are that they prefer to prioritize affording healthcare and pursuing personal goals. And it's always interesting when we see data for women because we know that women tend to live longer than men, which means they tend to have a longer retirement. So they would arguably need more money to fund their retirement than men would. And they also earn less over the course of their working years. So women planning to save less for their retirement is, again, alarming.
Along with the RRSP, though, there are other tax savings vehicles that have grown in popularity. The TFSA, tax-free savings account, at the top of that list. Have you seen the people are saying, I'm going to put into a TFSA rather than an RRSP? Maybe it works better depending on what your income level is, and tax strategies that the TFSA might be better, at least in the as a tax saving strategy or saving strategy overall.
Yep. So there are a group of Canadians that would prefer. So 55% say that they will consider investing in another registered plan. So like the TFSA that you mentioned, there's also the new First Home Savings Account. And then 19% will consider non-registered accounts. So those accounts that have no tax advantages, but also no restrictions. And again, is this the best thing for them? We don't know. So those that have a plan will help you decide not yes or no on an RRSP, but should it be another type of account now, an RRSP later? Should there be a combination of those? So while we know that Canadians are planning to invest in other registered accounts, we don't know if they have a plan behind that, if that's part of a strategy or if they're just choosing an account.
Trying to figure out or get over the hump of determining whether or not I've got the money to put into an RRSP this year or not. Does this come back to, again, a lot of people don't even know what an RRSP is, and or they have this one idea that might not be the case, what to invest in, that kind of thing. So it really points to the idea of you need that outside help, that the financial literacy, being such that it is, might not be up to snuff, and you got to get a third party involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So even those that do contribute to RRSPs may not understand what they are, or they may just contribute and then not actually invest the funds, which mitigates the advantage of that account because there's tax deferral on the investments. But if there's no investment, if you're just putting cash into an RRSP, that's not a good strategy either. So I think that the opportunity is to work with an advisor and come up with a plan. And this plan will help you understand, exactly what your ideal retirement will look like. Where will you be? How long will it be? Who will you be with? and how much will that cost? And then they can work back to how much will you need to save starting now to fund that retirement, and what other goals do you have along the way? So what shorter term goals may there be, such as potentially supporting dependents, helping them pay for education, and what immediate expenses do you have? So one of the reasons that Canadians gave for not contributing to an RSP was, they don't believe their income is sufficient. They prefer to service debt, and the cost of living is high. Having a plan will take all of this into account, because in some cases, people believe that they can't afford to, but maybe they can. And so having a structured plan will help you determine not only if you can, but how much you should.
And then it also helps as a reminder, because what did we talk about it off the top, that it's that deadline that's fast approaching, and maybe it had slipped your mind, and you we're just days away. And had you had a plan in place, then this would have been something that would have been taken care of earlier.
Yeah, deadlines do work, right? They do give us a time at which we must do something. And that deadline, right, is when you're contributing before March 3rd of this year. That's so that you can use the deduction against 2024 income. But putting in the first 60 days, you can use the deduction toward either year. And having a plan or working with an advisor, the advisor will help you determine when you should claim that deduction. Just because you make a contribution, you don't have to claim the deduction in that year. If you believe that you're going to have higher income in the following year or in the future, you might want to hold that deduction and use it in a year when it would be worth more to you. So again, all of this, having a plan in place. An RSP is an account type. It is not a plan. It is not the investment itself, but having it as part of your fulsome plan is the best way to maximize the advantages of this account.
Okay, so the March 3rd deadline fast approaching, and and as we as always said, try to contribute something, even if it's last minute, right, Julie?
Contribute something and come up with a plan to make sure that contribution is right for you and your unique situation. Yes.
Julie Petrera, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening to In This Economy. I'm Mike Eppel. If you have any feedback, questions, or for a story idea, you can email me at mike.eppel, that's EPPEL, @rci.rogers.com. Thanks for listening.